And welcome back, everyone, to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For those tuning in on Amazon, we welcome you all to the program. If you guys are new to us here on Amazon Live, definitely invite you guys to follow us to stay connected with all the great content that we have coming up. You can click over here in this corner or down below. You'll see that follow button there. Also, underneath us, you will see the book for our next guest. We're excited to welcome Jamil Huie to our program today. You guys see his book there, God, Sex, and Slavery. We're going to talk to him not only about the writing of the book, but also what it's been like for him to share these characters and history with the world. If you guys are just now finding out about the book, as I mentioned, you can actually click on it. We have it featured there in the carousel there on Amazon Live. You guys can be able to click on it there to be able to get your own copy of it. And also, we'll let you know how to stay connected with Jamil as well. But Jamil, thank you so much for the time, man.
Thank you for having me. How you doing, Mr. Cyrus Webb?
Hey, doing really good, man. Glad to have
Awesome,
you on
awesome.
the program as we're celebrating Read Across America, but also just celebrating the importance of books. So I want to talk to you about that. What has it been like for you, Jamil, to go from reading books to now having your own book that people can read?
It's actually an amazing journey. Because when I was younger, I did not actually learn how to read till I was about 16 years old. So once
Mm,
I figured out how to read and I learned how to read based on my sisters and my and at school learning, that's when I began like basically reading books. And I just got like an amazing interest in books. The first book I actually read was Shakespeare Othello, and we had to do
mm,
like a play in class, and everybody had to read it. I was kind of like off around that time. I couldn't really read that well, but it was interesting how somebody could basically put words on a page and just make it come alive. So basically,
yeah.
we used to watch the video. Back then we had the VCR, so we had to rewind it and go back and watch it in class. We had to kind of play the stories out. But books are very, very important. Without books, I would not be where I am today. So thank God
Wow.
for me learning how to read and understanding. It wasn't that I was slow or anything like that. It's just that it took me a while to get into school when I came to America. I'm Jamaican born. I came here. We had a rough life basically, and I started school kind of late. So I blossomed kind of late. So you know what I mean. But that's just another thing of never giving up. Always stand firm. You don't know where your destiny is going to be, no matter where you are. Just remember that there's always going to be something that you can do. You just got to know that and believe that and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, such a great point. A couple of things you mentioned there, Jimmy, I want to go back to. I want to welcome those who are tuning in on the Amazon Live side. Also, we see you guys over there on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. Appreciate you all being with us as well. This is Jamil's first on-camera conversation he was sharing with me, so we're glad
Yes.
to have him here on the Amazon Live platform. And definitely, you guys want to get this book. We're going to be getting into God, Sex, and Slavery here in just a bit. But I want to talk about what you mentioned about the power of books and about the written word, because what impressed me so much, honestly, and you and I haven't had a chance to talk about it, but what impressed me about this book is that you give us in the very beginning your own perspective of history
Yes.
and what has been done, but then you introduce us to these characters and the consequences sometimes that can come from our actions, both
Yes.
good and bad. Talk to us about history for you. Is history something you've always been impressed with?
Yes, I've always been impressed with history because basically it tells me where I'm from and where my ancestors basically came from, why I'm where I'm at, and why I appreciate the struggles that they went through. And that's part of what my book is about. The book is about the struggles of black relationships during slavery. Because basically you got to think about what an individual or what a family or a spouse and a husband and wife is going through back then. You're married, you're in love, you have kids, you have all this stuff going on, but you're in your house or in your bedroom, and somebody just walks in your room and do whatever they want with your spouse. It's kind of crazy. It's a struggle. It gives you the dynamics of understanding, like saying, you know what, these people have to go through stuff we don't have to go through right now. I'm not gonna sit here and say, hey, if I have a spouse or I'm married, somebody could just walk in my house and do whatever they want with them, and I'm frozen by fear. Not the fact that I can't do anything about it, but frozen by fear in the moment. And then I had a conversation with a couple of friends about this, like, what would you do if you ever experienced something like that? And they said, oh, I will go crazy, or I will do this, or I'll do that. But you got to imagine what type of conditions our ancestors was in. They was in a fear-oriented condition. Everything was about fear and death and dying, and it was destructive. So they
Mhm.
had to basically adapt to what they were not used to. They're not used to basically all this destruction around them and people being harmed, family members being harmed, and things that's happened to them that's unusual. So now they
Mhm.
have to react and act according to the situation. And then the consequence is, let's say they do react. It's not just that they're going to be punished. an entire um family is going to be punished. The entire plantation is going to be punished. So that means your
Right.
next door neighbor, your next door neighbor, your next door neighbor is going to be punished based on your actions of protecting yourself. So a lot of times, our ancestors had to react and say, you know what, they have to make decisions not based on their self or based on their own family. They have to make decisions based on the entire plantation, everybody's family, which is completely unfair. Who wants that burden? And who's willing to say, you know what, I'm going to do something about this, but knowing that if I get away and if my family get away, that means everybody else is going to be burned alive. Not saying to
Yeah.
the extreme, but at some point throughout history, as you read history, certain things that happen through history, you see that one thing happening, it triggers like an entire event and a whole population of people just got wiped out for no reason as we go through history. And this is why I love history, because it tells you the truth. And it's like with
Yeah.
history in school and the history that you learn out of school is like two different things. So they give you the nice sweet cake side in school, and as you're learning, as you become older, as you become more curious, and you start reading and understanding, okay, there's a darker side to history than what we are taught in school. So this is my part of my motivation to write this book. I love every word of it. I based it on, it's a very high emotional roller coaster, you can say. It's like a like you're just up and down throughout the book. You're mad, you're sad, you're happy, you're glad, you're horny, you feel amazing, you feel horrible. You hate this character, you love this character. So that's basically how I wrote the book. I wrote it on an emotional roller coaster because if I tell you how I feel, you're not gonna understand how I actually feel unless you feel it and know. Like if I talk to you and say, hey, this is how I feel about something, and if you can't feel that, you will never understand me. So the way I wrote the book is I want people to understand the pain. So I wrote it in a very painful, emotional way when I wrote it. So it was a great write. I loved every second of it, and everybody that reads it, they're still asking me, "Where's number two? Where's number two?" Because they love the book. So
Yeah.
that's basically, hopefully, I answered the whole question.
Well, I want to dive a little bit further in that. There's someone on Amazon Live says amazing journey. One of the things that I was struck with is that in some ways, people will look at this if they're looking for a modern day example. And Jamil, you can feel free to correct me on this. You can think about the prison system
Yes,
because you have in this book these individuals who are put in a place where they are at the mercy. And we're not just talking about the master's wife, as the subtitle of the book
yeah,
kind of alludes to, has a lot of power there as well. And knowing there can be ramifications for not doing even what the master's wife says, right? However, we
mhm.
can't say that everyone were victims here because some of them made choices that
Yes.
they knew could hurt their wives
Hmm.
and could have a bigger impact. So, what was that dichotomy like for you, Jamil? To yes, I mean, yes, they are in slavery. Yes, they are looked at a certain way. However, they were willing participants in a lot of stuff too.
Yes, and a lot of
too.
sexual acts.
What
They
what was that like for
definitely, yeah, they definitely were in a lot of the sex act and stuff like that. They definitely were a willing participant, but that was also part of it because a lot of times if you also dig through history, a lot of a lot of people got basically wiped out based on what a white female would do, basically to a man, to a black man. You know what I'm saying? So they're also a part of the problem. It wasn't just the slave master himself. It was also the slave master's wife. You know what I mean? Like she also went through a lot of emotional issues. You got to think about also the way I also wrote it. That I was trying to put for an example, like what's the emotional issue between everyone? So what's going on with the slave master itself? What's going on with the slave master's wife? What's going on with Abigail? What's going on with Bishop? Those are the two couples in the book, and why are they in the state they are emotionally? Why are they the way they are? In Elizabeth's case, basically she's been going through, her husband put her through hell. He cheats on her. He does whatever he wants. He disrespects her all the time. So she was a wonderful person. And then now, because she's been bullied or she's been picked on by her husband for so many years, she became this monster in this book. And now she's basically having her revenge on the slaves. One slave in particular, but he's also falling in love with this woman because whatever they're doing within their, I guess you could say, choice. As you said, they both had a choice,
Mhm.
basically. And Bishop eventually such and such. I don't want to get too much into it,
Sure.
but yeah, it's a lot that happens there. It's just an emotional roller coaster for everybody. So everybody had their reason for being who they are. Like Bishop had fear for a reason. He'd been through a certain experience throughout his history, so now he has fear of people being affected by his actions.
Right. You mentioned Abigail, so let's go there with Abigail because Abigail was put in a unique position. And again, when people
Yes,
read the book, they'll see that. Hello to you, Luana. Thank you for joining us on the Facebook side there. Because Bishop's actions impacted Abigail
yes,
in a very big way. And I think, that's the other thing I thought about today with relationships. A lot of times, what feels good to us is not always good for us. And Bishop even felt bad for putting someone he loved in a bad situation, especially when they realized what was happening. What was that like for you to kind of look at those real world examples that are modern day examples for us today as well?
yeah. So basically, a lot of that stuff happened basically based on experience. So we all write based on experience and things that we go through in life. And the
Hmm.
fact that Bishop did put Abigail through that was horrendous. But at first, he didn't have a choice. But as you go through the story, you kind of see that it became a choice
Hmm.
afterwards, and that
Yeah.
that that became the issue because now he's intimate with somebody else, and it's not just intimate with somebody else. You're intimate with somebody else in front of the person you're supposed to be in love with. Your
Yeah.
soulmate, your spiritual connection. This the person you're supposed to be in love with, and that person is in love with you. Now imagine for yourself that you're watching this act in front of you, and there's nothing you can actually do. And the reason why Abigail was so hurt about it is because she couldn't react to her emotions. She had to sit there and take whatever Elizabeth decided to do to her and Bishop at the same time, or not at the same time, but Elizabeth's main purpose was she's trying to hurt Abigail based on what she put in her head that Abigail done to her when Abigail in reality didn't do anything to her. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's also another side of relationships nowadays. A lot of times you see, like maybe the male or the female, they get in a situation where the male is cheating, and then the female finds out she's cheating. When instead of she taking it out on the male herself, she's taking it out on the person that he's cheating with. When that's not the person at fault. The person at fault is your actual spouse because you're the one that's stepping out. So that's
Yeah.
also a big part of it. So I mean, Elizabeth is vicious though, man. I like Elizabeth.
Yeah, I think Elizabeth is relatable. I think to men
Yes.
and women. You know what I'm saying? I think if people are honest with themselves. So let's talk about a compare and contrast here. For those who are just coming in, we appreciate you guys on the Amazon Live side. We're going to highlight again the book by Jamil Huie here. The you guys can get either the print or the Kindle edition. The Kindle edition is there for $6.99. The print edition is what I have here. It's $17.99. You guys, I'm going to go ahead and highlight it there for you guys. You're watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live platform as well as on other places. Our guest is Jamil Huie. We're talking with him about his book, God, Sex, and Slavery. Let's compare and contrast Bishop and Jonathan.
Oh, okay.
Um, because here you have two people who are in things for what they could get out of it, right?
Yes.
Um, and then we'll get into power a little bit later because power is also at work in all of these characters in some form or
Yes.
fashion. What was that like for you to have this contrast of these two men, Jonathan and Bishop?
Basically, you got to think about yourself as an individual because as you growing through life, you do has a you do have a contrast of personality. So one personality you're dominant, one personality you're submissive. In your sexual life, you're basically submissive, or you're dominant, or you're both. Like me, I'm both. I'm submissive and dominant. So what I was trying to build here was I was trying to create a villain, basically, something for people to hate, and then I wanted to create somebody for people to love. So basically, I figured that when people are reading, they need a villain and they need someone to fall in love with or somebody that's the hero or
Hmm.
hero, quote unquote. So Bishop was more like a passionate, more loving, more understanding. He was also a dominant, submissive type of person, and he was like empathetic. Like he treated Abigail with everything. He gave her his love. He gave her his heart. He gave her his soul and everything in between. And then Jonathan, now in contrast, he was basically the villain that he didn't care about anything. He did what he want when he wanted. He didn't care what anybody think, and if anybody ever crossed him, he's just gonna rip their throat out. And that's basically what his character was. And I think in life, we all need a villain and we all need a hero in order to like kind of, and that's what I basically trying to give the book. Give the book some type of character that people are going to attract to, and people are going to be like, oh, and everybody, I hate this person, I hate that person. But Jonathan wasn't the only villain. There was also another villain in the book, which a lot of people hate even more because of the color comparison. So, but
Yeah.
that's basically what I was thinking about. I just needed a villain and I needed a hero. And that's why their characteristics are basically different.
Was part of the fun of writing this book, Jamil, the fact that even though people would look at Bishop as a hero, he was definitely not perfect.
No, he was not perfect. He was absolutely wrong in what he was doing because of what happened between him and Elizabeth. Now, him as a man, as a person, like he had no choice in the beginning, but the fact that his feelings took over and he went ahead and whatever happened between him and Elizabeth, that was very harmful between him and Abigail. Now I'm working on also part 2, so that's gonna kind of extend the story, but basically he put harm to whatever they had because what they had was special because you barely find that in life, and that was also part of why I wrote it the way I wrote it because they normally say, oh, you only find one love, you only find one love, and then a lot of times when you do find that love, you end up messing up, and then you and that love end up breaking out or whatever it is. But like that was part of why I wrote it because it's like I wanted two people to literally fall in love with each other unconditionally, and then I wanted to show the aspect and the struggles because we all go through struggles in relationships. It's a lot of ups, it's a lot of downs. It's never easy. It's always family members, outside influencement, things that we do not agree with, or things that's going on, and that affect us. So basically, what I was trying to do, I wanted two people to fall madly in love with each other. We're soulmates, we're this, we're that. But then I wanted to burn the house down while this is happening, and see if that love is strong enough to last through all of this chaos. And that was part of the main thing in the story. Is like we all go through this. Can we fight through our struggles, fight through whatever hardship we're going through in order to keep love? And right now they're barely holding on. They're barely holding on, basically with a what's the word, with a thread to their relationship because of everything that's happening. It's not just regular things that's happening. You know what I mean? Like we have regular things where family members disagree, this and that, but you're literally having people like in front, like Abigail is literally getting burned alive in front of her, and she has to do nothing, and she cannot do anything about it. She's afraid for her family. She's afraid for her kids. So she has to watch this going on while her love, her spiritual being, is doing whatever he's doing to this white woman, and then now she has to deal with that when they go home. Like, just imagine how painful that is. So that's basically why I did that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Luana says, I'm interested in reading your book. I just ordered it, and we definitely invite others who have not gotten their copy of God, Sex, and Slavery to be able to get theirs on Amazon today. You all will see on the Amazon Live side, you'll see the book there below. Feel free just to click on that. Also, Anonymous says on Amazon Live, the way Mr. Huie was able to articulate his words onto the page really makes the characters come to life. I totally agree with that, Anonymous, for sure. And it is one of those books, I think, Jamil, that will have people talking because I think though some people may want to take sides, to me, other than Abigail, pretty much everybody was wrong. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Somebody had to take it, though. Somebody had to take the pain. So Abigail was basically like, I dragged her through the mud. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah,
and I did it on
but
purpose.
But also, let me say this: that also is where the realism comes in, because in a lot of situations, it's the innocent person that gets the worst end of the stick.
In a lot of relationships. Yeah.
So that also is what makes it a modern day, I think, example of what happens to us today. So definitely invite you guys to get your copy of the book. Again, God, Sex, and Slavery is the title. Jamil Huie is our guest. His first on-camera conversation. You did a great job, Jamil. Glad to have you on with us. How can our audience stay connected with you, man?
You can get me at Knowledge at IG. That's KNALEDGE. Or you can get me the same thing in TikTok, or you can get me on Facebook. Those are either way. Or you can just type my name in, and then I'm sure it will pop right up. You just see the book at the title and just pop it up. But that's basically it.
All right. Congratulations to you again, Jamil. Glad we had a chance to have this talk. We're going to be having you back on the show a little bit later this month. So looking forward to that. You have a great one, okay?
You too. Thank you.
Hey, more than welcome. And we definitely want to remind you guys, it is Read Across America week. So here at Amazon Live, I want to remind you guys, if you're looking for a great laptop to help you with your streaming, BiteCool has you covered. That's what I'm using for today's show. You guys see it there. Amazon has it on sale right now for $279. You guys can be able to click on it there in the carousel. We have it featured down below. What I love about this laptop is if you're looking for something, you're doing a lot of Zoom meetings, anything that takes up a lot of space when it comes to streaming online, whether for virtual learning or anything that kind of takes you to a place where you have to be able to spend a lot of time online visually. This is a great laptop for you. It's nice and thin. It travels well. It does have Windows 10 that comes with it, Windows 10 Pro. However, it does give you a free upgrade to Windows 11 as well. So again, this computer is a BiteCool laptop. That's what we're using to power this segment here on Amazon Live. We have it highlighted in the carousel on the Amazon Live side. Again, you guys can get it for only $279 there on Amazon. Also, keep in mind, as we mentioned with Jamil, his book is available in paperback as well as the Kindle edition. The Kindle right now, the Kindle Fire is on sale on Amazon for $49.99. That's the one that I have there, the Fire 7. It's a great deal if you guys are looking for a Kindle computer to be able to use for not only your books, but also music, and also for streaming too. I have my YouTube app on there and other apps, so you can be able to use it for other things too. So again, the Kindle Fire 7 tablet is on sale right now for $49.99. Last thing I will mention is that if you guys do not have a Kindle and you want to be able to get the Kindle edition of Jamil's book, they do have the free download of the Kindle for PC, as well as you guys are Mac users too. They have that for free as well. You can get it right there on Amazon to be able to enjoy Jamil's book today. That's going to do it for us for this segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.